Hey there, welcome in. My name's Josh. This is the EmbodiedJosh podcast where we talk about artists and their mental health. Today, we have a bit of a throwback. I met this guest. His name's Delyan Farashev. Del, I met him in college over the internet like 5 years ago when we were wanting to make games, get into video games, and we've stayed in contact ever since. And Del just got a job at Riot not too long ago as a 3D environment artist, which is sick. So I hit him up and I was like, "Hey, do you want to talk on my podcast and like share? Like, that's all right. That's awesome, man. Like, tell us your story. Like, that's so cool." So, Delyan, it's so good to catch up with you again after all those years. How are you? Welcome to the podcast. Happy you're here.
Hey man, yeah. Just want to say that thanks for having me. I mean, man, yeah, it's been crazy that since all that time we're still in contact, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So I guess so let's start there. All right. So like rewind the clock to art school, or I
yeah.
guess game. So I guess we can start with your story in college.
Mhm.
So how did you go from college to Riot to landing, doing art full time? We don't have to jump straight
Yeah.
to Riot. We can there's more to art than Riot games, right? But like talk to me about art school, about
Oh,
college and
yeah,
getting a job and practice and all that.
yeah. Well, oh man, yeah, it's been a long journey. Yeah, I started in college, and I was in 3D animation program back in the day. It was in 2014, somewhere around that, and yeah, I just arrived. I knew that at one point in time I want to make art for video games since the beginning. I grew up with Warcraft 3 and
Mm,
CS 1.6, so that has always been my goal. And yeah, I just got into it with Blender and UDK in high school, and yeah, it's just this long journey. And I did 3 years in college, and then I moved on in university. When over there, I did 1 year because after that, I was like, I wasn't feeling that I was learning as much as I wanted to. So yeah, that's when I applied at Binox Activision, and that's how it all got started in the industry.
so are you? I just want to make sure I'm understanding right. Did you say you dropped out of school because you didn't feel like you were learning and went
Yep,
straight to the industry?
that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
What a flex! That's some big dick energy, dude.
It's
That's insane.
man.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see what you mean. Let me explain a little bit more than that. It's just that I did 3 years into the animation in college, and it was a full program when it was more geared towards making animation, making movies, and not as much as in video games. But at the same time, I learned quite a lot in Maya, just overall the general stuff. And that's when I got into university. The first year kind of it I don't know, it wasn't as advanced as I hoped to. And with all the free time stuff, the projects on the side and poly count and all that, I was always try to like learn more. So yeah, I just wasn't feeling it, and I applied, and that's how it started.
jeez. So that's so interesting. I feel like that what you just described of having, having school, trying to get through the curriculum, trying to learn these different
Yep.
things, but then also wanting to do what you're really passionate about, like what
Yep.
really excites you. And
Mhm.
that's exhausting. And I feel like a lot of people have experienced that. Like, so like
Yeah.
any aspiring artist knows, okay, you do your job, you pay your bills, but then when you go home, you
Mhm.
do what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting. And that just got to the point where it sounds like you just looked at how busy you were and all the things that you were doing that you didn't really enjoy.
Mhm.
And you just said, forget it. I'm just going to
Yeah.
apply now and
Yeah.
see if I'm good enough to get in. And then evidently
Yeah.
you were.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about all that the other day, and it kind of you have to practice and all that, but at at a certain point you have to make things happen. Like you have to apply, you have to reach out to whoever recruiter, whatever it is, and just talk to people and see what's up,
So how did
because yeah.
you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because if you're just gonna stay there and just do your homeworks and just be a good student, I guess, it sometimes it's not enough to make things, start running.
That's a really good point. I feel like that, like what you just described is kind of at the heart of the art school versus no art school, because just going to art school doesn't mean you're going to get a job. You can go to art school and, like you said, and sit on your hands and just
Yep.
turn in your homework and float through,
Yep.
and then you just kind of expect a job,
Yep.
to happen
That's
at the end,
yep.
compared to going to art school and just actually caring and like going above and beyond and like putting in the due diligence to the point where, and this is where the cynical argument comes in, well, maybe not even cynical, but where the argument comes in where, if you're working that hard anyway, then you don't even need to be spending the thousands upon thousands of dollars going to art school, because you already are doing that for free for your own purposes, right? So you kind of took based off what you just described, it's not surprising that you dropped out of school to do it, because you were already doing the hustle that you knew you needed to do. So a question that I have then is, walk us through, let's say hypothetically, somebody's listening to this right now, they're in art school, they're wanting to work hard, they're wanting to not just coast through, they're wanting to, money is a thing, but they're kind of considering, how can I get some momentum? How can I get some results? Like you mentioned that you applied to Beanox, guy was your first job outside of school. You dropped out of school for Beanox. Did you have any like online presence, an art book, awards? Like were you just some random guy that applied on their website out of the blue? Did you have any like momentum? Did you have anything to set you up from art school student to full-time environment artist at Beanox? Like was there any, like, what did your resume look like essentially? Like what gave you the courage and like the foresight to think that you could do this? Did you have an in? Did you know somebody?
Yeah, for me, it was well, like I said, just in school, like exactly what you said, there are guys that are there and they do their homework, and that's about it. And for me, it has always been, that's not a job, that's not school, that's my passion, that's what I want to do for a living. So I never felt that I was working when I was, doing personal stuff. And there's also the point that some people make up, you know, making sacrifices, in the sense that, oh, do I take the time, in the summer to go on vacation, or do I stay home and learn ZBrush? And you know, it just, you have to see it as a long term goal. Like, what's your long term goal, and which one of these options is going to get you there? And it that way doesn't feel like a sacrifice, or doesn't feel like a negative thing, and you always, you know have that positive, just keep going, and you have this goal in your mind, and just keep pushing for it. And for me, throughout college, I was always, well, since the beginning, uh since the very first day, like when, teachers and the persons, they ask you, what do you want to do? I was just, I'm gonna work at Riot. And that's how it went. And 3 years always working and just posting stuff, and body count. Our station wasn't a thing back then. It was more towards like the end of my school days that our station became that big site and all that. So yeah, I was posting, but I wasn't like the next big thing, on socials and all that. I was just trying, honestly, to learn. I wasn't going after the fame, after the likes and followers. I was just wanted to become a better artist, because that way, you can, for me, as a 3D environment artist, that way I can create believable worlds, where the player can really like immerse himself. And probably, well, I hope that, when a player plays a game somewhere that I've created, he will get that little spark that I did when I was a kid. So, just give back to like all this community and all that. But yeah, and in my first year of university, I got into the, well, over here in Montreal, we have that Ubisoft competition that they've organized between universities, and each university has its team and all that. And what I was saying about making things happen, um, for our team in the school, it was supposed to be with the older guys, the more senior students. But I was like, yo, I want to be part of that. If I can feel that, I was feeling that I was capable to give the quality that we wanted to present at the competition. And the teacher, he picked me up, and then we went on and we won the competition, and then we won best Canadian video game, and we went on at the E3 2018, and we presented. And over there, I got to speak with just people from the industry. I talked with Riot people, and I, when I got back, I was like, "Nah, man, I don't want to go to school anymore. Like, I want to go in the industry. Like, I got this taste of like what it feels like to be like working on a team and creating something, and seeing the players that play the game enjoying it. Like, yeah, that was it. And that's when I just applied, and yeah, that's how it got started.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like that so much like the biggest takeaway from your story so far is just go for it. Like put yourself out there. Like the team that you pitched yourself for was like an upper level, like junior, senior level, like by level I'm talking like grade level, like junior year, senior year,
Yep,
graduate before they're about to graduate. And you
yep.
were what, like a sophomore or freshman equivalent?
I just started. It was my first
So it
year.
was your first year. So you come in as a freshman, you see the seniors working on something lit, and you're like, hey, I can do that. And you actually have the chops and were good enough for them to accept you based
Yeah.
off of the quality of your work. Like,
That's the thing. Like I had previously, the 3 years in college, and working on personal art. So I had this kind of confidence that I could deliver something, of quality.
just get good, dude. Just get good. Get good, and then throw yourself at all the people doing cool stuff and work with them. That's okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. So you're obviously wicked talented to the point that you're so talented that you could afford to drop out of school and get a job at a triple, like Beanox is triple A. Yeah, of course, the triple A. Like you drop out and go to triple A because you worked so hard on your craft to polish it to that point.
Yeah.
How did you get there? How did you get that good? You mentioned, you said before, like, oh, do you want to go on vacation or do you want to stay home and learn ZBrush? And I thought it's
Yeah.
kind of a clue. So I can kind of guess where you're going to go with this. But I want to hear what did practice look like then in high school, college time that really set you up to be able to make these big balls moves and just put yourself out there and go for it when it really mattered. And then how does that translate to your like practice regimen now in the present? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Huh. Man, that's something that I've thought about many times. It's just that I think it takes a lot of kind of fortunate and lucky, because before all that, I was playing a lot of competitive football, soccer. Um, so I had this like mentality of this discipline that when you decide something, you go for it, and you just doesn't matter what's up. Like you have to do something, you do it. And with that mentality, I entered college, and man, from the beginning, I I was talking about that with my parents. I told them, in the beginning, when I was about to enter college, I was like, I'm not going there to make friends. I'm going there to like learn stuff and like just go for it. I'm not there for like parties or anything like that. And that kind of mentality. I mean, at the end of the day, I did make friends. Like some of my best buddies are from that time. So it you can be flexible now that. But the most important thing is to not forget why are you there and
Mm,
what are you chasing.
mm,
And with that, it was just a lot of, especially in the beginning, in the first years, it was a lot of, uh, homeworks and all that. And okay, I've done the homework, but is it is it good enough? I was really like self um and I'm forgetting my
Like
word.
self-aware, like
Yeah,
self-critical. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because I wasn't the biggest I think mistake that I could have made is compare my work to the work of the other students,
Mm.
because I'm not like, the goal is to enter in the industry. So what I did was always like trying to compare what the industry standard is and push for that, even though I wasn't, at that level. But that's what kept me, um, just going and trying to get better at it, because I had this clear like image of what it should look like. And yeah, it was a lot of, just it wasn't really balanced because I was staying super late. I was always working, and the first like years of college were exhausting because even like I said, even in the summers that my family was going on a vacation, I was just staying home. It was like, I'm gonna learn ZBrush, and I had Polycount and YouTube, and that was it. And right now, that's my favorite program. So yeah, it kind of paid off.
Jeez, that's every time I hear stories like that, I'm both simultaneously really impressed at the amount of like dedication, discipline, and like love that you clearly have for your craft. Like you're in love with it, man. And that's so cool to see. And that passion and conviction is like, it's contagious. It's really cool. But at the same time, it's also like, you mentioned that you came in there, you're there to learn, not there to mess around, you're not there to make friends. Like we're there to get a job, like eyes on the prize, right?
Yeah.
But then I was really glad to hear that you were able to make some friends, and you did have you have some good buddies from college. How can you, as somebody who's highly capable, highly skilled, highly disciplined, very vigilant and focused, how can you walk that line to make sure that you're putting in the hours and you're grinding and you're doing everything you need to do to improve as an artist and comparing yourself to industry standards and everything else and surrounding yourself with like-minded peers while also not burning out and having friends and like having fun, or like
Yep.
heaven forbid, getting into a relationship or having a family? Like this, you can talk about this as much as you want. I don't mean to pry, but like for me, I've always struggled with, like, and I feel like this is kind of every artist has to struggle with this at some point where you like, hey, I should, to use your example, I should really study my voxel sculpting. I should really get into ZBrush, right? I really need to refine that part of my skill set. And then your friends ping you and they're like, hey, we're gonna hop into a game of Clash, like for League we need a fifth, and you're like, like I want to play with my friends, but I need to get better at my skills also. Like how can you walk that line so that you can do what you need to do and not totally isolate yourself and like not have any fun or friends or whatever?
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to lie about that, any of that stuff. To be honest, in college, in the first like 2 years, when it was like that big grind, um, yeah, it got up to to a point where if I was just laying in bed or just went for a run, I was feeling bad. I was like, I'm not I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Like right now, I'm wasting time, and that is really bad. If it goes to that point, yeah, it's not fun in games, like, yeah, you have to change something about it. And right now, I'm a lot more, balanced. Like I take time to just relax and, go for walks and whatever. And there are times that I feel that, that old feeling, but I'm more, experienced now, with a lot of, no, I've done this for like 3 years now, in the industry. So it's not a lot, but it's still enough time to like, I'm in a spot where I can just, okay, it's enough. Like go do something else. Like, just enjoy yourself, because that's one thing that if you just push and push and push up to the breaking point, that's bad, because then you start like fearing it, like, oh man, I don't want to go work again. Like and that's when you lose passion, and that's the worst. You don't want to do that. And for me, like you were saying, it was my friends. Like honestly, like they were pinging me, and little by little, I started accepting, the pings for league and all that, and I got to relax a lot more. And then I saw that it's fine, and even it's you have to do that because if you've been staring at that piece of art that you've been working on for like 3 4 hours, you have to take a break because you don't see the mistakes anymore. Like, go take a break, go take a walk, and when you come back, it will be even better. And that's what I learned, and that's what just helped me keep a stable balance through the rest of it. But yeah, for sure, I got into the trap, and it was something.
Jeez, yeah, I feel like that. I mean, I'll just ask the question because I've thought about this for myself. So I'll ask you, and then I'll answer it too. Do you feel like that you would be where you are today if you didn't work as hard as you did? Which obviously the answer is no, duh. But I mean, like, we're talking about the balance of your friends, right? Like,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at is that I feel like that fine line of crunching and being disciplined and working at it, like, that obviously pays off. But then
Mhm.
how, like, if you want to be really anal about it, like, how many pings do I accept? 1 ping a week, 2 pings a week? How many pings do I get? Do I actually hang out with my friends? Like, for me, I guess I'll answer it first and then I'll put it back to you. The bulk of where I am today came probably from around 6 to 7 months of head down, unhealthy, obsessive, wake up at 4:30 in the morning, grind hell. But I got really far, right? And
Yep.
it was such hell that that's what made me start a YouTube channel, right? Because it
Yeah.
was so awful. And my mental health was the worst. And it was the darkest time of my life. And yet I had the most growth
Mhm.
in that
Yep.
hell. And I have a hard time reconciling that now in the present. And I've ever since, like, that was such a bad experience for me. I was like, okay, just like you said, take some time, accept those pings, relax. But then I look at my artistic growth and it's like kind of down here, it's kind of like falling down a little bit. And it's like, oh, how do I do both? How do I not go, like, how do I not do that again? But yet, how do you get that balance? So I guess my question is, to rephrase it again, like, how do you, is that grind a necessary evil of, those pockets of just focus? And if so, I guess this can be a conversation. Maybe you don't have the answers. I don't. But it's like, what would a schedule look like if we, knowing what we know now, we've both gone through hell, we've both, like, you could even say, like, I got my job at Oculus because of that grind, because that's
Yeah.
where everything started for me. And if I didn't suck it up then, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yep.
And I'm sure you feel similarly with your stuff.
For
So
sure.
what would, if we had to theory craft right now a schedule to, for somebody who's in college, right, or graduating high school, getting into college, somewhere in there, what would a schedule look like from your experience? What would you recommend them to do to be able to get in those power hours while not hating themselves, and then, as you said, losing morale and getting discouraged and everything else?
Yeah. Um. For me, well, let's say for a student that's still in school and all that. For me, something helped was um you get back from school and all that. Play League, play whatever. You can play for an hour or two just to keep that school, relax, and then you come back to like your homework or personal project or whatever. But I think, yeah, it's important to like have this re- pause, like relax in between the both. But you don't want to fall in the trap though, that you come back, you play one game, and one game is two, three, four, and that's when I guarantee you that at the end of that of that evening, you'll feel bad because you didn't do nothing, and that sucks. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Jeez,
uh, like I don't know, like I think it depends on the personal level, what time you can and what time you want and you need to take
mm,
for yourself. But at the same time, yeah, I absolutely do not regret all that time of grinding and all that I did, because it made me what I am today. So
Yeah.
even though it was hard, I mean, if it wasn't hard,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's even to the point of like, like you said, like you can look back in hindsight and you're like, man, that was really unhealthy. But I'm here now and I have like, I'm a little like, balance it out more. I don't know. I feel like that you said, like, again, people are so unique and different. You probably can't prescribe a single schedule for every single person of do this. And then, you'll get your dream job at Riot or wherever you want to go. But I guess a good benchmark is for somebody who's working in the industry, a professional like you. What is your artistic endurance? What is a good amount of study time that people should strive to be able to practice meaningfully for that amount of time? And then, do you have any advice or tips to increase that amount of time to be able to study? So for me, I get tired after like 30 minutes to 45 minutes of like hard like studies. Like my mental endurance, I feel, is really low when it comes to like artistic grind. Like maybe if I'm in the flow, like maybe an hour to an hour and a half. But after that, like I'm exhausted and I can't do it anymore. And then I've fallen into that league trap so many times. So it's like, oh, I'm tired, I need to take a break. And then it's 4 hours of league. And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess I should probably work again, huh? Like how could you, what's your artistic endurance level as a professional artist? So like what should I aspire to? And then what are some steps that artists could take to try to expand their endurance in that way?
Yeah. Well, for me, I try to, have at least 2 hours a day to work on personal stuff. But the thing is, and that made me think of just what you said, that grind stuff. I think that you should like stop looking at it as a grind or as a negative kind of connotation on the word. It's more about for me right now, when I end work, I mean, I'm tired. I've been working for 8 hours, constantly like doing art. And how do you do more art after that? Well, for me, it's simply, I take my break, I go out with my dog and, just play a game of Valorant or whatever. But after that, I want to work because it's a personal project. I'm working on something that, um, you know, uh, I just it gives me like happiness, and it just it's fun to work on, and that's probably one thing that you should consider. Always, for a personal project, work on something that is fun and it's not something that kind of feels like you're forcing yourself working on that. For art fundamentals, I mean, you there is no short way around it. You have to do them, of course, but yeah, once you get there, it's not about picking stuff that you want to work on, and that thing it yeah, there's something that is also like a big trap, or especially now with our station and all that, is about, oh, I have to do that personal project because in this deadline that I myself am putting on, because I have to do that and get likes and followers. That for me, when you get to that point of like feeling that pressure of like, oh no, I have to post it because I want the likes, I want the followers. That's when it's a slippery slope. Like you can kind of get that negative, feelings, because you yourself, you're putting a deadline when you shouldn't be. It's a personal project. The goal here is to get better. It's not it's not for the likes. We're not doing that for the followers. You're doing this because as an artist, you just want to like experiment, create new stuff, fail a lot, because that's how you're just experimenting new techniques, workflows, and learning from that. And yeah, I see that a lot nowadays with our station and all the followers and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point on drawing the line between personal project stuff that you love versus like the art you have to do for work. And I feel like that any content creator feels this, or even like a Twitch streamer or a YouTube creator or an artist, where it's like, this is my job and it's work, but it's also fun and I like it, but it's also work. So then it's like, if art is your hobby but also your job, dividing that line between like artwork versus art fun can be difficult. And then especially you throw on social media And then
Yeah.
I feel even more pressure. It's like, okay, great. This isn't NDA, so great. I can actually show the world this, and I don't have to wait 7 years, for something to be seen. So the next question I have for you is with acknowledging that line between personal projects and fun work as a hobby that you would do when you're 90 after you're retired versus like the work that you have to do for your job that pays your bills. Is there ever a time, do you ever draw, and what are your thoughts on drawing or creating just for you and not posting to social media? Do you ever just draw and not post it?
Yep. And I think that's important. I do right now. I'm working on a personal project that I will not post. I mean, I'm getting feedback from like friends and mentors because I just want to experiment and you know get better because that's the ultimate goal. Like my goal is not to be famous on our station or famous whatever. Like I just want to be
Hmm.
better and just get that knowledge, and then I can um, just create better worlds for the players and all that. So yeah, I do that. Um, it's fun. I mean, it's not something that I think that I don't know how many people do that because now our station it's so big that sometimes it feels almost like Instagram in a way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know, like, and especially for like the students and younger people, they see all the followers and all that, and they may associate that with having a job when it's not. Like the guy that has like all these followers and all that, he he didn't just create his account and all that dropped from the sky. He worked hard, and that's how he got there. But your goal is not the number. Your goal is the knowledge, and that's the difference, I think.
That's huge. I I think it's really cool that you have something that you don't post. I struggle with that. Every single thing that I make, I automatically like, oh, I should post this, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
I should, because why not? Why
Yep.
not, right? Like, wouldn't hurt, right?
Yep.
Build your personal brand. It's like the old like in the heat of the moment, especially if you like it,
Yep.
you're working on your own, you like it, and you're like, yeah. After all, why shouldn't I post it? Right? Just that Lord of the Rings meme. Like, why not? And I feel like that. I feel like that the answer is because you're selling your soul.
Mhm.
Like you should be able to like keep that for yourself, right? Like that's the gas in your tank, right? Like, yeah, you can inspire other people. You can be altruistic about your post. Be like, oh, I hope this post could do so much good for us. Like, if you want to go that route, right? But just for yourself, like, just make it for you,
Yeah.
right?
Vectors. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. Now, see, ironically, now I want you to share with me the stuff that you're making. It's like, oh, post it to me so I can see. But like again, recognizing that I'm happy that I don't see things that you make because it means that you have something that's like sacred, just like for you.
Yeah.
Man, I
Yeah.
guess final question before because I mean Riot's in the thumbnail, so people want to hear you talk about Riot, so we could ask you a couple of questions about that. But
Okay.
what last question before that? For art fundamentals, they suck, they blow, whatever. I hate them. What would we talking about study time, artistic endurance, the grind part of work that you need to grind a little bit, especially for the fundamentals. What is your advice for art fundamentals for grind time for developing those skills, and what do you think has proved the most useful for you? If it's anatomy, perspective, form. You're a 3D environment artist, so I expect it to be different than concept artist or illustrator.
Yeah.
But what fundamentals do you find to be to increase your skill level and click with you and the fastest?
Hmm. Yeah. For me, it was well, just color theory in general.
Mm,
Perspective, like you said, good composition. It's so important for 3D, just environment art in general. Also, uh, just well, more like for prop stuff, but just being able to like work on organic stuff and hard surface. It's different worlds, but at the same time, it's important to touch both. Like it's fine if you want to specialize in one thing, but as an environment artist, I see ourselves as kind of generalist. We do a lot of stuff. We do props, we do level art, we do even just placing the lights and all that, just lighting the scene, all that. Just keep an open mind and be curious about like all that stuff and light theory, like I said, and yeah, just the whole deal. I don't know.
All
I
of it,
don't have
all of it.
fun.
Just get good, dude. Just be like
It
Dell,
just
dude. Just flex on him. No, no, no. Honestly,
it
it's
just
kind of refreshing to hear you say color theory and light theory because I've been like in the Illustrator like concept art like character bubble for so long. It's always anatomy, figure drawing. I'm like, okay, got it. Like, but it's kind of refreshing to hear that.
I don't care about anatomy.
Well, I mean, yeah, as an environment artist, like makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was a great segue. You rattled off a bit of a laundry list of the things you do as an environment artist. So just to start off, we have probably around 20 minutes left.
Mhm.
As much as you can. What does your responsibilities? What does your day to day look like as an environment artist at Riot? And let's just start from there. We can get into advice or tips for other people who want to get into environment art specifically.
Well, my daily life right now, it's it's different because of COVID,
Yeah,
but it's my daily like routine is something that I've been doing for since the beginning. Is I will just open up ArtStation and Pinterest, and I like National Geographic as well, just to get like inspired by like as an environment artist, just environments, cool photographs that have you know whatever, just get inspired by the community while I'm waiting for all that sync up and all
that's
that
cool.
work. And yeah, then it's just meeting the stand up, just what's up, how is everyone doing, what are we working on, and from there it's work, but it's fun work, like for me, like I'm working on Valorant, and it's a game that I truly love and I grind. I've been grinding before that, so I just work on that. I'm an environment artist, so it's a lot of creating the level art, working closely with concept artists to solve you know uh, zones that I'm not sure about. Sometimes I'll freestyle, sometimes I'll ask for a sketch or a quick paint over. So that's awesome that we have this support. And yeah, it's just relax, and later in the day we'll make some spike rush games with the team and just have fun, and then we'll get back to it. And it's at that time it's probably like 5 o'clock, so I'll just turn everything off, go for a walk, and come back later. Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you worked with concept artists sometimes. So as an environment artist, how much creative control do you have on original concepts or like map ideas, map layouts, whatever, versus you executing a pre-established vision and say, hey Dell, we need this, this, and this.
Yep.
Can you go, knock this out of the park for us? Or they're like, hey, we need this purpose met,
Mhm.
they're like, give it a best shot. Like what does that relationship look like in a team? Because when you're by yourself,
Yep.
you're art god, you do whatever you want. But when you're with a
Mhm.
team, what does that dynamic look like?
Man, and honestly, for me, from my experience, that's what like that's a big difference from Riot and the my past companies that I've worked on. Like the kind of collaboration and artistic freedom that we have is honestly amazing. Like, um, we do we work on like pre-established, general team maps, but that doesn't mean that everything is set in stone. Like everyone is super open, and you feel that you can just poke and reach out to anybody and just talk about them. Hey, like this zone is that in the concept, but do you think that we can make just bring everything up? Like it's not about uh, destroying like what was like in the foundation. Just making it even cooler. And that collaboration with concept artists is amazing. Like I've never seen that, elsewhere. Oh,
That's super cool.
my camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh no, your video left. That's all right. You're back now. Welcome back. No, that's awesome. Man, that's so. It's a meme, but it's like that level of humility to be able to work so openly with other people and to make suggestions, I think is really, really cool. Would you say that in your experience working there, like it sounds, hearing you talk, that everybody's really humble, at least at Riot and your team that you're working on, that if somebody has a good idea, they can just open it, they can basically pitch it, make a suggestion, and
Sure. Yeah, that's 100% true. Like, it's crazy because, like, I have like 3 years in the industry, and I'm working with these guys that I've been following like for years on our station, and I've been following their work, and now I'm working with them, and they've been like all around, the industry as a whole. So, they have so much experience, and it kind of feels intimidating at times, but
yeah,
feel that coming from them or from their actions, just something that me myself, I'm thinking about. But in reality, like, everyone is like super open, and it's encouraged to, be humble and just share ideas and work with each other. And honestly, like, the team dynamic is great. Like, I don't want to sound like a fanboy or anything, but yeah, that's Riot, has always been my dream. It's everything that what I've hoped for. So yeah.
that's, man, I mean, I'm jealous. That's sick app, dude. So with that being said, you've made it to Riot. You have this awesome team, really collaborative. What is it like? I've always wondered. So it's like, okay, you've made it. Like, now what? Like,
Yeah.
how does that, like, what's that like? Like for people like they dream to getting to where you're at right now. I don't mean to embarrass you, but it's like you made it. Like, that's awesome. You grinded really hard. You worked on it. What is it like to be there? And you mentioned before, just like being able to work with the people that you followed and admired on ArtStation, seeing them and you're like with them in person. You're just like, oh, like what's that like, man? What's next? How do you handle that?
Yeah, in the first like month or so, I was talking about that with my girlfriend. I was like, I always knew that I was gonna end up working at Riot. It wasn't like about am I gonna work at Riot? It was when. And when it happened, man, it honestly hit me. Like, I was like, okay, now what? And the now what? It's right now. It's just just keep growing as an artist because I have this huge like opportunity to be working with like these exceptional guys and gals, and just to learn from everyone is, man, I'm blessed. So the next steps are just keep grinding, keep improving myself, and um be a better artist, and eventually, down the road, you know we'll see, lead art director, we'll see, man.
Dude, I
Yeah.
love it. So environment art, I don't know very much about it. Polygonal modeling, not the best at it. Voxel sculpting, retopology, I hate with a passion. I like, honestly, retopology was the reason I stopped looking at modeling altogether. Like, voxel sculpting was pretty tight. I was like, oh, this is so sick. Like, it's like virtual sculpting. This is awesome. It's like, oh no, that's too dense. You can't use that in the engine. You have to like retopo. I'm like, what is retopo? And it's like, oh, it's hell. It's literally the worst thing in the world. Like, what are you I mean, I guess we could start there because that's like one of the few things I actually know about your pipeline. But like, what tips or advice could you give other people who want to do environment art, or maybe even a sales pitch of like, if they haven't considered environment art, what is it? What do you like about it? Why did you choose environment art versus the, at least on the internet, like the hotness of concept art and illustration, because everybody wants to do that, right? Why did you decide on that, and what do you love about it?
Yeah. For me, like personally, like I said, I grew up with Warcraft 3 and yes, and like whatever game that I've played in my time, it was always, the environments that like fascinated me. Like that's what, drives the player to their goal. That's like the whole world. And when it's built um correctly and good, it you feel like you're in the game, it's believable. And that's what we're doing essentially. Like we're making a virtual world that feels believable. And that for me, it's like that's amazing, like you get to like experience, like sci-fi stuff, fantasy, whatever, and it just you're not limited to whatever. And the player, to see them, fall in love with the world that you've created is honestly amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like that, and this is just like, I guess, the beauty of art, but like I feel like that answer could be applied to any different medium. You could have a concept artist say that, an illustrator say that. It's like, I want people to love this world, and yet there's something about you that loves the expression of that in a 3D sense, and in the actual, like in the modeling and the sculpting of it. And I think that's so unique, because that's like that's why you're doing that. It's like it's a personal expression of that desire of world building.
To see people, especially like in Valorant, to see people like spend time learning, like I don't know, like the angles and all that. I mean, I'm not a designer, so I haven't designed the angles or whatever, but they kind of stare like at the art that I've spent time doing, and they're just there. And to see them play a game of Val and on a map that I've created is amazing.
Yeah, oh man, that's so sick. Gosh, yeah, you brought up a good question. I was wondering, have you ever gotten feedback for a design for like what you have to do for work, and then it's like, oh no, like from the design conversation, no, that angles, we can't use that, you have to change it because this sight line is not going to work, or this, or like, do you ever get like design feedback that you have to change your environment art around, or oftentimes by the time it gets to you, it's already there? This is kind of a similar question. I pretty much asked this earlier, but like I'm just curious, do you ever get like, oh no, sorry, can't put that bush there, messes up the sight line of XYZ?
Yeah. Yeah, well, in all the companies that I've worked on, it's always that we've always like worked closely with designers, because exactly what you said, like whatever game it is, you kind of have to follow the design. And sometimes we go just hard on art and put a lot of whatever, like bushes and whatnot. And it kind of then you have to keep in mind that the environment has to be readable. Like you want to to direct the player towards goal or bomb site or whatever the game you're working on is. So that's when all the composition stuff comes into play. But yeah, for sure, we've had that's something daily that happens. Yeah. Cool.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, bringing it right back to the fundamentals. You said light theory, color theory, and composition were the three fundamentals that you emphasized. So to wrap this up, because we're almost out of time, if you could give advice to either your past self or somebody else who's considering 3D environment design, what would you advise them to do? I mean, you can, whatever, you can be as specific or vague as you want. You can give them, retopo and UV strats that you found. You can talk about, the value of, being able to do hard surfaces versus organic, like and weighted portfolio reviews, like even within the subsection of 3D environment art, and like there's a lot there. Like it's a whole specialization, it's a whole profession. Like what are some tips and tricks and takeaways that you found specific to your craft that an environment artist could glean from you?
Hmm. Well, specific to environment art. Well, I think it's important to, like all that technical stuff, you'll eventually like end up learning, like UVs, Retopo, whatever, ZBrush, like it it's a software, software change. But it's important to have the basic, understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And in terms of like the environment art, like I was saying before, that we're here to like, you know, work with design and create uh believable environments and turn gray boxes into like trees and houses and whatever. So that's important. One more thing that it's kind of, I guess you can apply it to any discipline in general, is honestly believe in yourself. And I know it sounds like super like vague in general,
No, no.
but if you know what your goal is, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Like it doesn't matter if it's teachers or whatnot. And because personal experience, like in college, my teachers told me don't do stylized stuff. They told me like do realistic. You won't find work for stylized stuff. And I didn't care. I just kept on like working, and I knew that, right, what they are doing. So, I just kind of, and at the same time, yes, right, we're doing that, but at the same time, that's something, stylized art, that's something that passions me. It's just a personal preference. So keep working on that. And yeah, just don't get discouraged. Like you'll fail, but it's nice. It's really great to fail, because that's when you get to learn stuff. Like that's when you're like, oh, okay, next time I see, I'll do something else. Because if you do something and you show it to someone and he just tells you, okay, that's cool. That's really cool, man. Good job. What did you learn? Like what you learn is that you just did the same thing that you've been doing, and it's in your comfort zone, kind of like you haven't experimented. And there is time for experimenting and learning new stuff, but at the same time, it's nice to fail. That's when you realize what worked for works and what doesn't, and what to take with you. Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's really good. I mean, your last point, it goes hand in hand. If you believe in yourself, if you have that self-confidence of your ability as an artist, you're not going to be chasing likes on social media and desperate for people to affirm you and tell you that you're awesome and tell you that your art is the best. Not that you necessarily have to think that your art is the best, but just that you can go into it, like you said, more comfortable, more willing to fail, because that's where the true value is, because that's where you can improve. But the more insecure you are about your craft, the more insecure you are about your style or whatever, the more you're wanting somebody to tell you, oh, that's cool, which, meets the needs of your insecurity, but it doesn't necessarily help you grow as an artist. So
Exactly.
having that strong sense of self that you said that's important. Now, that's like, how do you get a strong sense of self? That's a different question. We can figure that. That's a big question. How do you get self-esteem? All right. Well, yeah. All right. Well, Del, thanks so much. Do you have anything that you want to plug here at the end of the podcast that you want to bring attention to? Any links, ArtStation, Instagram, any projects, anything that you want to shout out?
Well, man, I don't know. Like, if you guys want to follow me on ArtStation, I guess it's cool. But yeah, I don't have anything like super specific in mind. Just keep enjoying, man. Like, we're so blessed to like have this opportunity to like work on something that we love and be getting paid for it. Like, we're super lucky, and just have fun. Like, it's art. We're not digging holes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Have fun. Also grind a lot and do the fundamentals, but also take breaks. Like it's a fine
Yeah.
line to walk. But if Del could do it, you could do it. And You know, nobody has all the answers, but that balance, honestly, Del, your story is really inspiring. It's really cool. It's really, really cool to see you go for it, and get to the dream. Like you're a success story, and it's just, man, I hope that people can be as inspired by you as I am, because it's so sick. I know, man, because I mean, I was there. We both were like, oh, let's go work at Riot, and then you made it. I'm so stoked for you. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for sharing it.
For having.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped you. My name's Josh. This is Del, and we'll see you next time.